Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the 1/44th scale high-grade machine build Alpha Azieru, the absolutely massive mobile armor from that classic Gundam movie, Char's Counterattack. Now this thing is absolutely colossal. For example, in universe, this is essentially the same size as the Neo Zeong, and funnily enough, a little bit of trivia, this used to actually be called, at least during the design phase, the Neo Zeong. So if you actually slap both designs side by side, you can actually see there's a lot in common between the two. However, when it does come to this right here, sadly the high-grade machine build doesn't have the lower half. It is just a bust, but it is a ridiculously awesome bust at that. This came out in December of last year at about $280. As for getting it right now, it might be a little bit more difficult, so you can get yours exactly where I got mine, and that is through Buy. So I will throw a link down there in the description, but more than likely at this point, the price has risen. Actually, how much did this cost? $360, so it has jumped a little bit, and I suppose it's not going to get any cheaper anytime in future, unless they do a re-release. Anyway, let's get this unboxed and check it out. So on getting this out of the box, we've got two big old clear packages full of parts. So as you can see right here, this is not a model kit, this is a figure or buildable figure in a way by Mega House, kind of similar to a lot of the various different kind of diorama stuff they've made in the past. There is a little bit of a build to it, which I'll get into in a second. We do also have some other aspects in here, like a big massive sheet of water slide decals, and when it comes to actually assembling it together, it's easy enough, and it's more of a case of actually putting the figure together as opposed to an actual build. But as for that build, first off, we've got the torso aspect that attaches onto a little bit of a pedestal that keeps this pretty much upright. The nose armor section, or that kind of hood armor section in here, comes assembled inside of the box. You do actually have to tear it in half like so. Takes a little bit of pulling, not too much though. Then you assemble that onto a little bit of a joint section round back, both sides attached together like so, and we've got a little bit of a nose cap in a slightly darker, kind of milky coffee color. Next up, we've got 4 thruster units which attach onto the back. These actually look very, very nice. They're metallic red on the inside, grey on the outside, and essentially this entire thing is finished out of box. I will mention though, and we'll see this once it is put together, there are a lot of lines in here that might do with a little bit of panel lining if you want to. Next up, we've got the most detailed part of this model, and that is the head. This is very nicely detailed. We've got a mono eye in here that can slide all the way around with a nice bright green lens, a lot of nice painted detail, and a ton of little pipe aspects, especially around the back. Attaching this on is definitely the most involved aspect of this particular assembly. First you pop the ball joint of the neck in like so, then we've got a whole bunch of different piston aspects. These attach onto 4 different sides of the neck onto ball joints. However, I will mention that the ball joints, not the ball joints themselves, but how they're anchored into the neck are a little bit on the loose side, so they do pop a bit. However, you won't be moving this around too much, so it doesn't really matter. You have to plug the rubberized wires around back into a section just behind the head, and then you cover where the large pipe connects around front with this little bit of a cap piece we would have removed before. Next up, we have to build the armor onto the head. Now, it is interesting that this stuff is included, and we do have nice actual detail in behind it. It's not just flat grey panels, we do have some piping and various other aspects. These side panels just pop on both sides like so, super simple. Next up, we've got a rear piece from the back of the head, attaches on once again, easily enough. If your nipper finger is getting a little bit itchy at this point, there is a little bit to cut out and assemble, but at this point it kind of almost seems a little bit redundant. We have these 4 little flap sections, you chop them out just like so, and they attach into the side panels, which will be attaching onto the side of the head. There is 2 colors on these. There's the light coffee color on the outside, and there is a little bit of grey inside of the venting. These attach onto the side of the head. Again, easy as everything so far, no difficulty whatsoever with this. We've got a little bit of an antenna that just pops onto the top of the head, again, super simple. And then we move from the smallest aspects of this model to the largest. That is the big shoulder wing binder sections. These again are incredibly nicely detailed, the verniers being the nicest aspects, with the actual inside part in a nice reflective metallic red. Next up, we've got the 5-barrel wired Saikamu Mega Arm Cannons. These are fully articulated, they're quite nice. Just align all those cannons together and it just pops onto the end of the, well, I'm not sure if it's a wing binder, more like a shoulder binder, just like so. When you do attach on one of these, it does get a little bit side heavy, but thankfully Mega House did include these tiny little clear bits for actually supporting these. Once you do get the other side on, which is exactly the same way, it's a big old wing, you attach on the 5-barrel cannon, it slots into the side in a nice double joint that holds it in place. Well, now it's kind of balanced, so you don't really need these much anymore. Maybe there is a little bit of stress on the joints, so maybe you should use them even though it feels like you don't need to. And there we go, that is all it takes for the assembly. The assembly in here definitely just kind of feels like just a way for Mega House to get this into a smaller box, really, as opposed to being a kind of actual build. It's just, again, you're just putting it together. So now that it is actually put together, here is the most important thing. It's side by side with your average size 1/44th scale high grade RX 78-2 Gundam. I've also thrown the Psychodoga back in there as well for a bit of size comparison too, and as you can see, this thing is absolutely massive. Detail wise, overall looks wise, this is absolutely beautiful. The only real letdown to me is the fact that you don't have the full entire body of this, which would make this an incredibly huge display piece. In universe, this mobile armor right here is essentially the exact same size as the Neo Zeon, which is to this day still the biggest high-grade Gundam model kit of all time. Would have been actually, in my opinion, a little bit better if Bandai Mega House actually went all out and made this just a big old model kit. Even if not that, if they just made this figure, well, full-bodied as opposed to a bust. Anyway, let's get in a little bit closer, see what it can do. So jumping on into the aesthetics, and there it is fully built just out on the desk looking incredible. There is no denying just how nice this bust right here looks. First off, I will mention this is huge, and it's kind of hard to get it across in video just how big it is. It's about 76, I think, centimeters wide or 30 inches. It is massive. Again, I won't say it anymore after this. It is a little bit of a letdown that they didn't just do the complete Alpha Azieru. That would have been awesome, but what we got right here looks great. So first off, when it comes to the colors, the main body, the main armor in here is in 2 shades of kind of a beige-like color, like a super light coffee and a not so super light coffee. The detailing on it is very, very nice, but you have to get it in the light just right for it to pop. But on that armor, there is a ton of mechanical detail all over the place, and it does look very, very nice. Now, this does seem to be an unpainted model, so it does mean if you wanted to, you probably could panelline that. And I suppose on that note, that does bring me directly to this right here. In a way, this is kind of like a half model kit in a way. You don't actually do the cutting out and building of the actual bust back there, but there is a ton of decals included in here. So you've got some nice large ones here with the NZ333 and a bunch of these kind of ones for adding on some nice kind of white detailing. Then we've got all the usual kind of various warnings and kind of marking details for all over the place. This right here is the sheet telling you where everything goes, so it gives you a little bit of an idea of what this will look like with the decals on, and it does look like it does give it a lot of nice extra detail. And I suppose if you're doing that, you might as well go the whole way and get this thing panel lined as well, because you're going to have to finish it or top coat it to keep those decals on there anyway. On top of all that armor with its detail and whatnot, we do have a lot of other details on here as well. Some painted aspects like some grey little vent sections, some detailing in the fronts of the shoulders as well as the front of the chest, some nice greebles, especially in the chest zone. We've got grey inside of the nose hood section round back to give it that kind of mechanical interior kind of feel. And of course we have all of those absolutely phenomenal looking verniers. Around back we've got 4 here, and there's some underneath the big shoulder binders as well. Overall, nice detail. But by far the part of this model with the most detail is the head right here. Now, before I even mention anything about this, what I always find really hilarious about some Zeon or Neo Zeon designs like this is the mono eye, because if you actually take that mono eye there and pop it right to the front so it's looking dead ahead of it, it's pretty much straight up blind. What is that design? Now, this section can actually be moved up and out of the way like that, so I guess that is how it sees. Maybe compressed down like this is part of its actual transformation. So this can move up and back like this to reveal that full little section. They actually have a kind of gem-like little lens in there that really does make that mono eye super pop. We do also have that cannon section in the forehead that's in the nice same metallic red that we see on the thrusters below, the mega particle cannon in the mouth section, and we do have those extremely nice pistons in the neck as well. Now these do function. Now they don't really move too much, but when you're actually putting the head on, you can see that these can compress all the way down and extend their entire length. There just isn't really a whole lot of articulation to the head per se, so you can kind of turn it side to side like this. Not really a whole lot. If we get this looking on bang dead ahead, the head turn goes from there to there to there, so not a whole lot. And up and down is up and down, so there really isn't anything. However, even while it's doing nothing, it does look incredibly nice. Even though this here is essentially a little bit of a statue, there are some mechanisms to it. First off, you can reproduce the kind of flying or the landing mode that this particular mobile armor has by bringing this hood section around back down, kind of like the nose of a plane. In order to do that, you just move back this antenna like so, and it just closes down and over the head just like that. Fairly simple, pretty cool. Kind of lacks the full effect because we don't have the lower body, which is also meant to kind of kick out to the back and give it some kind of horizontal length, but otherwise it is cool that the gimmick is here. It's easy to put up, it's easy to take back, it all works out really well. Next up, when it comes to the 5-barrel beam cannons on the shoulders, these do have some included wires like so for using as the kind of semi or quasi Saikamu kind of weapon that they are. So basically you just pop them off like so, this part opens up like this, you're able to put the wire through, you have to tie the end of it so it holds in position, close it all up inside of the actual cannon, and then you slide the other end of the wire just up inside of the shoulder. You just keep on pushing it till it kind of sticks, and that is how it works. However, I will mention there is no way to actually display these in flight. There is no included stands for using with them, and there is no like holes or anything like that in the particular cannons to put them up on any kind of stand. So you'll need something with a little bit of a claw or something like that to hold them in the air. More than likely, you're probably just going to do what I'm going to do and just slap them back on the way that they were. Lastly, then, we do have a little bit of a mechanism in the chest, which is quite nice. We've got a forward sliding bit of armor in the front, and then a downward sliding bit of armor at the bottom, which also makes those circular aspects move out just like so. And if you conversely squeeze those in, it will move the section of armor back into position. So nice little bit of a moving gimmick there too. But overall though, it doesn't do a whole lot, just a couple of things. So yeah, at the end of the day, this right here is essentially kind of a statue, and a big one at that, and that's kind of its point. So without any further ado, size comparison time. First off, there it is side by side with your standard sized high grade Gundam kit, beside a master grade Gundam kit, and beside a perfect grade Gundam kit. So as you can see, it is absolutely huge, and won't be a whole lot huger if it actually did have, well, the rest of it, from the waist down. So as for some other size comparisons, there it is beside Sazbi from the same movie, a pretty huge Gundam, which is the Penelope, and I will mention that is in front of it. I just try and come over here and slam it in beside it. It's a little kind of far off, but you can see that it is exceptionally dwarfed by this right here. Next up, beside another big high-grade 1/44th scale mobile armor, that is the Psycho Gundam Mark II. Next up, it's time to size comparison this with something that's actually in its weight class. And when I actually went to go grab this, it was instant regret because this has become part of the furniture at this point. This is the high-grade Neo Zeong narrative version. And this is essentially the same size this is meant to be when, you know, it's got its lower part of its body. As you can see, the high-grade Neo Zeong absolutely dwarfs this bust. But if you actually grab the bust and pop it in front of it right here, you get a little bit of an idea of what kind of monolithic size this would be if it was full size. Now, if you were crazy, you could try and grab a Neo Zeong, mod the lower body, and have yourself a full Alpha Azieru. But again, it is a little bit of a letdown that we didn't get the whole thing, but the bust is pretty cool. But yeah, that right there is it for the review. This is a very nice piece, definitely. If you can get it at a good price, I would say go for it. If you're into Char's Counterattack or Gundam UC, this is a nice little addition. It is a little bit of a letdown that it's not the whole thing, but if it was, it'd probably be 2 to 3 times the price. But for a nice display, get it up on a shelf or something like that with your bigger Universal Century model kits, and it will fit right in. It is only half a mobile armor, but it's a beautiful looking half. Again, I got mine through Buy, links down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gundam reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking every single one of you guys for watching, and special thanks to those who support me on both the channel memberships as well as on Patreon, including Simon, Scotty Thomas, Abraxas, RG59061, Joe, Vanfon, and Caleb Engelhart.